Welcome to the Timeless Tales Library, where stories flow like gentle streams carrying you toward the shores of sleep. I'm Oliver, your evening companion, and tonight I've prepared a calming tale to still your wandering thoughts and escort you softly into dreams. The Timeless Tales Library flourishes through the devotion of wonderful listeners like you. If these quiet stories have wrapped you in peace, please subscribe and help us continue nurturing these restful sanctuaries. As you find your cozy corner, comment below and share where in the world you're listening tonight, and tell me of an enchanted place you'd love our stories to carry you. Perhaps the crystal caves beneath sleeping mountains, the floating gardens above silver clouds, the ancient tea houses hidden in mist-covered valleys, or a lighthouse perched on the edge of a starlit ocean. Your dreaming wishes keep our treasured library glowing with warmth. This story is about an ancient world born from darkness and silence, where the figures of the entire story of Greek mythology walk among clouds and heroes journey through gentle lands. It is about the slow unfolding of time itself, the quiet rhythm of seasons, and the soft whisper of Greek mythology tales that have drifted through countless nights. As rain falls steadily around you, you will wander through this drowsy realm, where even the mightiest events feel distant and dreamlike, where every step brings deeper calm, and where all the stories of old blur together like watercolors in the rain, carrying you softly into sleep. Now, exhale slowly and imagine yourself unspooling any worries or thoughts like threads of a tangled knot. You are in the silken archives, a silent, smooth-walled room of the Timeless Tales Library. Here the books are not bound in leather or cloth, but in fine, soft silk. Each page is a weightless layer, and the stories within are as light as a whisper. Feel the cool, smooth touch of silk against your skin as you settle into your bed, your own private cocoon in these archives. Relax your shoulders, unclench your jaw, and let your hands rest gently by your side. Let your mind unspool and untangle, becoming as smooth and calm as the pages of a silken book. The stories of the archives are like a comforting blanket. Let them wrap around you, soft and weightless. The entire story of Greek mythology, pouring for deep sleep. In the beginning, before anything you might recognize, there is only chaos, not a storm or a clash, but a gentle void, a soft darkness, an emptiness as comfortable as closing your eyes. You float here, weightless, in this tender nothingness. There is no up or down, no light or shadow, only the quiet hum of potential and the softest sound of rain beginning somewhere far away, each drop falling through infinite space. And from this drowsy void something stirs, not suddenly, but gradually, the way morning arrives. Gaia emerges, Mother Earth, and she is warm beneath you. You rest upon her, and she is soft like moss, like the gentlest earth after rain. She breathes slowly, and you breathe with her. Her presence is ancient and patient, and she asks nothing of you but to rest. Above you, so high and distant, Uranus forms farther sky. He is vast and quiet, a blanket of deepening twilight, scattered with the earliest stars. Rain falls from him in the gentlest mist, touching your face like a blessing, and you feel held between earth and sky, safe in this first cradle of the world. Time moves differently here. The Titans are born, one after another, not with cries but with sighs, great beings of mountain and ocean, of memory and light. They emerge slowly from Gaia, and each one settles into the world like stones sinking softly into still water. Cronus, Rhea, Oceanus, Tethys, Hyperion, Thea, their names are like a lullaby, and you need not remember them all. They simply are, as rain simply falls, as night simply comes. There is a moment, distant and dreamlike, when Uranus must part from Gaia. It happens gently, inevitably, like the natural turning of seasons. Cronus, with a blade forged from Gaia's own substance, reaches up through the soft rain and separates sky from earth. It is not violent in this telling, it is simply the way things must unfold, the way night must sometimes part from day. Uranus rises higher, becomes more distant, and the space between heaven and earth grows into the vast, comfortable space where clouds gather and rain is born. And from this parting, from the rain-touched sea foam, something beautiful will later emerge, but that is for another quiet moment in your journey. Cronus rises now to rule the gentle world. You watch from your resting place as he moves across the land like a slow tide. Time itself seems to pulse with his heartbeat steady, rhythmic, as reliable as rain falling on leaves. He takes Rhea as his partner, and together they exist in a kind of dream, neither happy nor sad, simply being. But Cronus has heard whispers on the wind, soft prophecies that one of his children will someday ease him into rest, into a quieter role. And so, when each child is born, Hestia, Demeter, Hera, Hades, Poseidon, he swallows them, not with malice but with a strange, somber gentleness, the way the earth swallows rain. They rest inside him, waiting, sleeping, dreaming their own slow dreams. Rhea's heart grows heavy, heavy like clouds before rain. When her last child is about to be born, she travels to Crete, to a cave where rain drips peacefully from limestone, where the air is cool and smells of ancient stone and wild herbs. There, surrounded by the soft patter of water on rock, she gives birth to Zeus. The child's first breath mingles with the mist of the cave, and already he seems part of the rain itself. Rhea wraps a stone in swaddling clothes, a smooth, river-worn stone that fits perfectly in her arms. She brings it to Cronus, and he, in his dreaming state, swallows it without question, thinking it his son. The stone settles inside him, cool and quiet, and Zeus meanwhile sleeps in his cave on Crete, watched over by gentle nymphs and the soft goat Amalthea, whose milk is warm and sweet. You rest here with the infant god for a while. Rain falls outside the cave, creating a curtain of silver between the world and this sacred space. Time passes, years feel like moments, or perhaps moments feel like years. Zeus grows slowly, in the way of dreams, and you grow drowsy watching him. When Zeus is grown and you can hardly remember the growing, it happens so softly he knows it is time to help his siblings. He finds Cronus in a garden where rain falls on olive trees, and he offers him a cup, just a simple cup of nectar, nothing frightening. Cronus drinks, and gently, one by one, he releases Zeus's siblings, first the stone, then Poseidon, Hades, Hera, Demeter, and Hestia. They emerge slowly, blinking like people waking from a long, peaceful sleep. There is no violence here, only the natural order of things unfolding like petals opening in the rain. Now comes what is called the Titanomachy, the War of the Titans, but even this is distant and dreamlike in your telling. You watch from far away, from a hill where rain falls steadily and thunder rumbles soft and low like a lullaby. The gods and Titans meet on a vast plain, and their conflict is more like a slow dance than a battle, more like the eternal conversation between wave and shore. For 10 years they move back and forth, and you watch through the rain, counting the rhythm of their steps, feeling sleepier with each passing season. Zeus finds allies, the Cyclopes, who emerge from deep places in the earth, blinking in the soft light. They are gentle giants with single eyes that seem sad and wise, and they forge thunderbolts in their quiet workshops deep underground, the ringing of their hammers like distant bells heard through rain. They give these gifts to Zeus, not weapons really, but symbols, tools of balance. And the hecatonchires, the 100-handed ones, rise from the depths, but you see them as beings of strange grace, their many arms moving like anemones in gentle currents, their voices humming in harmony. The Titans, at last, grow tired. They sink into rest, into a deep place called Tartarus, which is not a prison but a place of profound sleep, far beneath the earth where the sound of rain never reaches, where silence is absolute and strangely comforting. Cronus and his siblings settle there into their long dream, and above, the world grows quiet again. But there is one more stirring before the peace fully settles. The earth, Gaia, still dreaming her slow dreams, brings forth the giants, not small beings but vast ones, born from rain-soaked earth and ancient stone. The gigantomachy unfolds like a slow storm passing over distant mountains. You watch the gods and giants meet, and again it is all so far away, so softened by rain and mist that you can barely make out the details. The giants are weary even as they wake, and the gods are patient, and slowly, gradually, the giants too find their rest, sinking back into the earth from which they came, becoming mountains and hills where rain will fall for eternity. And then Typhon rises, the last challenge, the deadliest monster, but even he appears to you through sheets of rain, more like a fever dream than a terror. He is vast beyond measure, with 100 serpent heads, but they sway gently like kelp in water, hissing softly like wind through grass. Zeus meets him with those thunderbolts, and the sound is like very distant thunder, the kind that helps you sleep. Typhon falls at last, not defeated but calmed, and Zeus places him beneath Mount Etna, where he sleeps even now, his breathing creating gentle warmth, his dreams stirring the mountain to soft rumbles that are almost soothing. Now the world can be divided. Zeus, Poseidon, and Hades draw lots. You imagine them drawing straws by a stream where rain creates soft circles on the water. Zeus receives the sky and becomes king of the gods. Poseidon receives the oceans. Hades receives the underworld. They accept their roles with quiet dignity, and each departs to their realm as rain continues to fall, connecting all three kingdoms with its gentle presence. Mount Olympus rises through the mist, its peak lost in clouds where rain is born. It is not a harsh mountain, but a gentle slope wreathed in soft fog. The gods build their dwellings there, and each home is warm and dry inside, filled with gentle light. You walk slowly up the winding path, in no hurry, rain dripping from leaves onto your shoulders, and you feel welcome here. Zeus reigns from a throne of cloud and polished stone. He is king but not harsh, more like a grandfather who has seen everything and judges little. His beard is wet with rain, and his eyes are kind and distant. When he speaks, it is with the low rumble of summer thunder that makes you want to curl up and sleep. He watches over the world with patience, and you feel that patience extending to you, telling you it is all right to rest, to let go, to simply be. Hera sits beside him, Queen of Olympus, and she is regal but not cold. Imagine her as a woman gazing out at rain falling over hills, her thoughts somewhere distant and peaceful. She presides over marriage and home, over the quiet bonds that hold things together. Her presence is like the feeling of being safe indoors while rain patters on the roof. She asks nothing of you but that you be comfortable. Poseidon dwells beneath the waves, in a palace of coral and pearl where everything moves in slow motion. You dive down to visit him, but the water is warm and the descent is easy. Kelp sways around you, fish drift past like dreams, and Poseidon himself reclines on a throne of living reef. His trident rests beside him, more decoration than weapon. The sound of the ocean here is like the sound of rain, the same endless rhythm, and you feel yourself rocking gently in the current, safe and warm and so very drowsy. Hades sits in his quiet kingdom beneath the earth, and it is not frightening but rather the most peaceful place of all. Soft light comes from somewhere, perhaps luminescent stones or gentle fungi, and the air is cool and still. Hades himself is gentle, quiet, a being of few words and great patience. His realm is where all things eventually come to rest, and rest is what he offers. The river Styx winds through his kingdom, dark and smooth as silk, and rain from the world above seeps down through stone to feed it. Souls arrive on Charon's boat, and Charon is an old ferryman with kind eyes, who asks only a small coin, and then rows with smooth, steady strokes that match your breathing. Cerberus, the three-headed dog, guards the gates, but all three heads are sleepy, and he thumps his tail when you approach, and each head wants to be petted, and his fur is warm and soft. The dead walk slowly through the underworld. Some go to the fields of Elysium, where it is always a perfect drowsy afternoon, where rain falls gently on meadows of asphodel, and there is nothing to do but rest and remember pleasant things. Others go to the asphodel meadows, which are not punishment but simply a place of gentle forgetting, where souls wander peacefully through mist. And far below, Tartarus waits, that deep place of silence where the Titans sleep, but you do not go there. You stay in the comfortable regions, listening to the soft drip of water through stone. Demeter walks the earth above, goddess of harvest and grain. She moves through fields in the soft rain of spring, and wherever she steps, things grow slowly, patiently. The seasons turn at her command, but the turning is gentle. Winter flows into spring like one breath flowing into another. She teaches the mortals to plant wheat and barley, and the work is not hard but meditative. Hands in soil, rain on your back, the slow miracle of growth. Hestia, the eldest, tends the hearth at the center of Olympus and at the center of every home. She is the quietest of the gods, preferring the soft crackle of fire to conversation. You sit by her hearth now, and the fire is low and warm, more ember than flame, and rain drums softly on the roof above, and you have never felt so safe, so completely at peace. Athena was born from Zeus's head, not violently, but like a thought becoming real, like the moment between sleep and waking. She emerged fully grown, but even her birth was peaceful, like a flower opening. She is wisdom and strategic war, but her wisdom is the kind that prevents war, that finds peaceful solutions. She walks through the olive groves she gifted to Athens, rain dripping from silver green leaves, and she thinks deep, slow thoughts that would take years to fully think. You walk beside her, saying nothing, and her presence is like the feeling of understanding something without words. Apollo drives the sun across the sky, but you hardly notice because the day is overcast. The sun a soft glow behind clouds, gentle and not too bright. He plays his lyre in the evening, and the music is simple and repetitive, the kind of melody that helps you sleep. He sits on a hillside where rain has just stopped, and mist rises from the wet grass, and his song is about nothing in particular, just notes following notes, like raindrops following raindrops. Artemis roams the forests with her hunting nymphs, but they hunt only in the dreamlike way of myths, tracking deer through silver woods, where rain makes everything soft and quiet. She is the moon's keeper, and the moon you see is always gentle, a crescent or gibbous, never too bright, always softened by thin clouds. Her arrows are more like thoughts, they fly, and then they've already arrived, and the deer they touch simply fall asleep and dream themselves into stars. Ares is the god of war, but here, in this dream, even he is subdued. He sits alone polishing armor that will never be worn, in a hall where rain echoes from a high ceiling. His aggression has nowhere to go, and so it simply dissipates like morning mist. He seems almost sad, almost peaceful, and you feel pity for him rather than fear. Aphrodite was born from sea foam where Uranus's essence fell into the ocean. You watch her birth as if through gauze she rises from gentle waves, not dramatically but slowly, water streaming from her hair like rain. She is beauty itself, but it's the beauty of a rainy day, of soft light and muted colors. She drifts to shore on a scallop shell, and waiting nymphs wrap her in cloth as soft as cloud. She presides over love, but the gentle kind, the love that is comfortable and lasting, like the love of rain for earth. Hephaestus works in his forge beneath volcanoes, but you hear only the distant ring of his hammer, rhythmic and soothing. He was born less beautiful than the other gods, and perhaps this made him kind. He creates wondrous things not for glory, but simply because creation is its own reward. You watch him work through the window of his workshop, seeing the fire reflected in rain-slicked stone, and the rhythm of his hammer is like a heartbeat, and you feel your own heart slowing to match it. Hermes is the messenger, and he moves between worlds with winged sandals, but he never hurries. He drifts more than flies, and wherever he goes, he brings dreams and soft whispers. He carries a caduceus wound with serpents, but the serpents are drowsy, their eyes half closed. Hermes speaks in a low, soothing voice, and he tells you it's all right to rest, that messages can wait, that the world will still be there when you wake. Dionysus, youngest of the Olympians, wanders through vineyards where rain falls on heavy grapes. He is the god of wine and revelry, but here he brings only the pleasant drowsiness of a single cup, the kind that makes your limbs heavy and your thoughts slow. He teaches mortals to make wine, but the process is slow planting, waiting, harvest, pressing, aging, and each step is meditation. He is accompanied by satyrs and maenads, but they dance slowly, barely moving, swaying like trees in a gentle wind. Deep in caves and ancient forges, the Cyclopes continue their work. You hear their hammers from far away, a steady rhythm that could be rain on stone or heartbeats in your ears. They are craftsmen of thunder and lightning, of tridents and helmets of invisibility, but they work without urgency, taking centuries to perfect each piece. The hecatoncheires, the 100-handed giants, rest now in the deep places. Their many arms move slowly through their sleep, rearranging stones, and this is how mountains sometimes tremble, not with violence, but with the sleep stirrings of these ancient beings. Prometheus, whose name means forethought, once brought fire to humanity. You watch this as a memory, as a dream of a dream. He climbs Olympus in soft rain, takes a coal from the sacred fire, it glows warm in his hands but does not burn, and brings it down to mortals huddled in caves. He shows them how to keep it alive, how to feed it with dry wood and breath, and the mortals gather around this new light, warming their hands, and the fire crackles softly like rain on leaves. But fire was meant to be a gift of the gods alone, and so Prometheus must be punished. Zeus chains him to a mountain, but the chains are loose enough that he can shift his weight, and the mountain rock is smooth beneath him. An eagle comes each day to eat his liver, which regenerates each night, but this is all so distant and dreamlike that it seems more like a story someone is telling you as you fall asleep, a story you'll barely remember. And eventually, much later, Heracles will free him, and Prometheus will walk down from the mountain in soft rain, his punishment ended, forgiven and forgiving. Epimetheus, whose name means afterthought, receives a gift, Pandora, the first woman, created by the gods from clay and rain. She is beautiful and curious, and she carries a jar, not a box, but the word has changed in the telling. She is told not to open it, but curiosity is natural as rain falling. And so one quiet evening, as rain patters outside, she lifts the lid. Out drift all the hardships of the world, sickness, sorrow, envy, pain, but they drift like dandelion seeds, slowly, inevitably, spreading into the world so gently that you hardly notice. And at the bottom, last to emerge, comes hope. And hope settles over everything like a soft blanket, like the promise that rain will always end and begin again. Mortals live through 5 ages in this drowsy world. First the Golden Age, when humans lived like gods, never aging, never working, simply existing in perpetual spring, where rain fed all growing things. Then the Silver Age, longer lived but harder, with seasons now appearing. The Bronze Age brought stronger humans who worked metal and built great things, all in slow motion through rain and time. The Heroic Age follows, and the Age of Iron, and each age is a gradual dimming, like the light fading at day's end, but not frightening, natural, expected, the way things must be. Deucalion's flood comes, but even this is gentle. Zeus sends rain to cleanse the world, and it rains and rains, but slowly, steadily, giving time. Deucalion and Pyrrha build an ark not in panic, but with careful planning, gathering food and animals in the patient rhythm of preparation. The flood rises like a bathtub filling, and they float on it peacefully, rocking in their boat, watching rain fall on water, the sound everywhere and nowhere. When the waters recede so slowly you barely notice they step onto muddy Parnassus and throw stones over their shoulders as instructed, and the stones become people, and the world begins again, fresh and clean, washed by rain. The underworld holds many wonders beyond Cerberus and Charon. The river Styx is not the only river, there is also Lethe, the river of forgetting, whose waters taste cool and pure, and one sip erases all memory of pain. There is Acheron, the river of woe, but its waters are calm and dark, and its woe is a distant thing. Cocytus is the river of lamentation, but even tears here are quiet and oddly peaceful. And Phlegethon burns with fire, but the fire is strange and does not consume, it simply is. Persephone, daughter of Demeter, gathers flowers in a meadow after spring rain. The flowers are wet with dew, and their petals are soft. She sees a narcissus of particular beauty and reaches for it. The earth opens not with violence, but like a curtain parting, and Hades emerges in his chariot, drawn by black horses that step carefully, that toss their manes gently. He takes Persephone to his realm, and she is frightened at first, but he shows her his quiet kingdom, shows her the fields of asphodel and the gentle souls, and slowly she becomes comfortable there. He offers her food 6 pomegranate seeds, and she eats them thoughtfully, one by one, and each seed is cool and sweet. Above, Demeter grieves, but her grief is the soft grief of rain, and nothing grows while she mourns. Zeus must mediate, and eventually they reach a balance. Persephone will spend part of the year below and part above, and so the seasons are born. When Persephone descends, winter comes, and the world rests. When she returns, spring arrives, and the world wakes slowly from its sleep. It is a perfect rhythm, like breathing, like the cycle of sleep and waking, and you feel yourself following this rhythm, sinking with her into the underworld, into rest. The Eleusinian mysteries honor this cycle. Initiates gather in the sanctuary at Eleusis, and they experience something that can never be told, something that happens in darkness and silence, something about death and rebirth, about seeds that sleep in earth and rise again. You participate in this mystery, and it is not frightening but profoundly peaceful, and when you emerge, you understand something without words, something about how rest and activity, darkness and light, are one eternal rhythm, gentle as rain. Eros, the god of love, has his own story with a mortal named Psyche. She is so beautiful that people forget to honor Aphrodite, and so Aphrodite sends Eros to make Psyche fall in love with something unworthy. But Eros, seeing Psyche, falls in love himself. He takes her to a palace in the clouds. You can visit it now, its halls filled with soft light, and he comes to her only at night, asking that she never look upon him. For a time they are happy, and you feel their happiness like a warm blanket. But Psyche's sisters plant doubts, and one night she lights a lamp to see her lover. A drop of hot oil falls on Eros and wakes him, and he flees, hurt not by the oil but by the broken trust. Psyche must complete tasks to win him back, but the tasks happen in slow motion, sorting seeds, gathering golden fleece, fetching water from a high stream. Each task takes its time, and you help her in your dream, moving slowly, deliberately. In the end she completes them all and becomes immortal, and she and Eros reunite in a garden where rain falls softly on roses, and their story ends not with passion but with deep, comfortable love. Heracles or Hercules is the greatest hero, and his 12 labors span years, but you experience them all as one long, drowsy afternoon. First, the Nemean lion, whose hide cannot be pierced. Heracles wrestles it in a cave where rain echoes from stone, and the wrestling is slow, a test of endurance, not violence, and eventually the lion sleeps, and Heracles skins it gently and wears the pelt as a cloak. Next, the Lernaean hydra, a serpent with many heads that grow back when cut. Heracles and his nephew Iolaus face it in a swamp where mist rises and rain falls into murky water. Each head they sever, Iolaus cauterizes with fire, and the work is repetitive, meditative, like a task that helps you stop thinking. The hydra eventually succumbs, and its poison becomes useful, its blood coating arrows. More labors follow, each bleeding into the next, capturing the golden hind of Artemis, a deer so swift it seems to flicker in and out of sight, but Heracles tracks it patiently through rain-soaked forests for a year, and when he finally catches it, he holds it gently and releases it again after showing it to the king. The Erymanthian boar, massive and fierce, is chased through snow, but snow is just frozen rain, and it falls as softly and eventually driven into a snowbank, where it tires and allows itself to be carried away. The Augean stables, filled with years of filth, are cleaned by diverting a river. You watch the water flow, steady and relentless and cleansing, washing everything clean. The Stymphalian birds, with bronze beaks and feathers, are startled into flight by a rattle, and they fly away like a murmuration, their wings catching rain. The Cretan bull, the mares of Diomedes, the belt of Hippolyta, the cattle of Geryon, the apples of the Hesperides, and finally, bringing Cerberus from the underworld. Each labor is a meditation, a repetition, and by the end, Heracles is so tired, so ready to rest, and you are too. Perseus, another hero, must slay Medusa, the Gorgon whose gaze turns beings to stone. But Perseus approaches in a dream, watching her reflection in his polished shield, seeing her backward through rain. She sleeps in a cave, and her serpent hair hisses softly, and when he takes her head, there is no fear, only the strange, sad beauty of the act. From her severed neck springs Pegasus, the winged horse, who rises into rainy skies and disappears into clouds. Later, Bellerophon will ride Pegasus to fight the Chimera, a creature of lion, goat, and serpent, but the fight is distant and unreal, glimpsed through mist. Theseus volunteers to be sent to Crete, as tribute to be fed to the Minotaur, the half-bull creature that dwells in the labyrinth. The labyrinth is not frightening, but rather like a dream, where you walk corridors that all look the same, turning and turning, never quite lost, because lost is all there is. Ariadne, daughter of King Minos, falls in love with Theseus and gives him a ball of thread. He ties one end at the entrance and unwinds it as he walks, and the thread is like a lifeline, like the thin connection between waking and sleeping. He finds the Minotaur at the center, not a monster, but a sad, tired creature, lonely in its maze. They meet, and what happens is obscured by shadow and time, but Theseus emerges, following the thread back, and the Minotaur is free now, free to rest at last. In that same Cretan palace, Daedalus the craftsman builds the labyrinth. He is so clever that afterward, King Minos imprisons him to keep his secrets. Daedalus fashions wings of feathers and wax for himself and his son Icarus. They wait for the right day, overcast, gentle wind, soft rain in the distance. Daedalus warns Icarus not to fly too high or too low, to stay in the middle path. They take flight, and the world below becomes small and peaceful. But Icarus, in his dreamy flight, drifts higher, drawn to the pale sun behind clouds. The wax softens, the feathers loosen, and he falls, but it is a slow fall, like a feather itself falling, spiraling down to the sea, which receives him gently, and he becomes part of the water, part of the rain cycle, forever young, forever flying in memory. Jason and his Argonauts seek the golden fleece, sailing on the Argo across seas that are sometimes calm, sometimes stormy, but always seem distant. The crew includes heroes, Heracles for a time, Orpheus the musician, the twins Castor and Pollux, and they row in rhythm, oars dipping into water like pendulums. They face challenges, the clashing rocks that crush ships, but they send a dove through first, and then row with all their might, and the rocks close just behind them, missing by a breath. They meet the Harpies tormenting blind Phineus, but the winged Boreads chase the Harpies away over the horizon. They arrive at Colchis, where King Aeetes possesses the fleece, hung in a grove guarded by a sleepless dragon. Medea, the king's daughter and a sorceress, falls in love with Jason. She gives him ointment that protects him from fire and the brazen bulls he must yoke, from the dragon teeth he must sow that sprout into warriors. Jason completes each task in slow motion, ploughing with the fire-breathing bulls, sowing the teeth, watching the warriors spring up from the soil. Medea tells him to throw a stone among them, and they turn on each other, fighting until none remain, and the work is done. Medea then charms the dragon to sleep with herbs and song. You hear her singing a wordless melody, and the dragon's eyes close, one by one if it has many, and it sleeps. Jason takes the fleece, golden and soft, warm as if it's just been washed in sunlight and dried by rain, and they sail away. All these stories turn now toward Troy, toward one judgment that sets everything in motion. The goddess Eris, not invited to a wedding, tosses a golden apple inscribed, "For the fairest," among the guests. 3 goddesses claim it: Hera, Athena, Aphrodite. They ask Zeus to judge, but he is too wise for that and sends them to Paris, a prince of Troy, living as a shepherd on Mount Ida. You watch through rain as the three goddesses appear before him, each offering a bribe. Hera offers power, Athena offers wisdom and victory in war, Aphrodite offers the love of the most beautiful woman in the world. Paris in his youth and innocence chooses Aphrodite, and the apple is hers. This choice, made so simply in rain-wet grass, will topple a kingdom. The most beautiful woman is Helen, wife of Menelaus, king of Sparta. Paris travels there and is welcomed as a guest. He and Helen meet, and whether Aphrodite compels her or Helen chooses freely, she leaves with Paris for Troy. The abduction or elopement is quiet, almost dreamlike. They board a ship at night and sail across wine-dark seas, and behind them rage begins to build, but you are far away from the rage, watching from a peaceful shore. Menelaus calls upon all the Greek kings to honor their oath to defend Helen's marriage. Ships gather at Aulis, 1,000 ships, the story says, but you see them arriving slowly, one by one, their sails like wings in mist. Agamemnon leads them, and with him comes his brother Menelaus, and Odysseus, and Ajax, and Achilles. Achilles brings his Myrmidons, warriors loyal unto death, but even they seem tired before they begin, ready for this to be over. The fleet sails to Troy, and the war begins. But even war here is filtered through dream. For 9 years they besiege the city, and those 9 years are like one long rainy season. You watch from the walls sometimes from the Greek camps, and nothing really changes. Men fight in the day, but at night both sides sleep, and rain falls on them equally, on Greek and Trojan alike. The fighting is ritualized, formal, men meeting in single combat while armies watch. There is tragedy, but it is distant. Achilles, the greatest warrior, nurses his wrath against Agamemnon who has slighted him. He refuses to fight, and without him the Greeks struggle. His wrath is cold and quiet, not hot rage, but the deep anger of wounded pride. He sits in his tent while rain drums on fabric, and his companion Patroclus tries to comfort him. Eventually, Patroclus asks to wear Achilles' armor and fight in his place. Achilles agrees, reluctant. Patroclus enters battle and drives the Trojans back, but he pushes too far, and Hector, prince of Troy, slays him. The news reaches Achilles like rain reaching earth, inevitable, crushing. His rage transforms into grief, and grief into a need to act. He returns to battle, and you see him moving through rain, his new armor forged by Hephaestus catching what little light there is. He meets Hector outside Troy's walls. Hector knows he will die. He has seen it in dreams, in the patterns of birds, in the way rain falls. He faces Achilles anyway because there is no other choice, and their duel is not quite a fight, but more like a dance whose end is known. When Hector falls, Achilles' rage still isn't satisfied. He drags the body behind his chariot, but even this is slow, dreamlike, and eventually Hector's father, King Priam, comes to Achilles' tent to beg for his son's body. The old king kneels, kisses the hand that killed his son, and something breaks in Achilles, not violently but like ice melting in sun. He gives back the body, and they weep together, Greek and Trojan, and you understand that grief is the same in any language, in any story, but Achilles will die too, an arrow to his heel, and he will die young as prophecy foretold. Paris shoots the arrow, or Apollo guides it, and Achilles falls, and the greatest warrior becomes a shade in Hades' kingdom, walking the asphodel fields forever. And when Odysseus later meets him there in the underworld, Achilles says he would rather be a living slave than a dead king, but his voice is soft, accepting, and he asks about his son. Troy falls at last through trickery. Odysseus conceives the wooden horse, and the Greeks build it slowly over many days, carving and fitting the planks. They leave it outside Troy's gates and sail away, hiding nearby. The Trojans debate should they burn it, push it into the sea, bring it inside. They choose to bring it in, this gift from the gods, they think. That night, as rain begins to fall, the Greeks emerge from the horse's belly, open the gates, and the hidden army returns. Troy burns, but you see the fire through rain, the flames hissing and steaming, and by morning the great city is ruins, and the war is over, and everyone is so very tired. Odysseus begins his long journey home, the Odyssey, 10 years of wandering to match the 10 years of war. His ship sails through rainy seas, and you are aboard with him and his men. First, they stop at the land of the Lotus Eaters, where the people offer them strange fruit that makes them forget their homes, forget their purpose. Some of the crew eat and must be dragged back to the ship, and they weep to leave. But you understand that forgetting can be sweet, that sometimes memory is the heavier burden. Next, they encounter Polyphemus the Cyclops, a giant with one eye who traps them in his cave. Odysseus blinds him to escape, but even this is muted, seen as if through rain-streaked glass. The giant's cries are like distant thunder. They sail away, Polyphemus hurling boulders that fall into the sea with great splashes, and then he is behind them, fading into mist. Circe, the sorceress, lives on the island of Aeaea, and she transforms Odysseus's men into pigs, but gentle pigs, content pigs, rooting in mud and sleeping in the sun. Odysseus, protected by a magic herb, resists her spell, and she restores his men. She is not evil, only lonely, and Odysseus stays with her for a year, and the year passes like a day, and you rest in her hall, where wine flows and rain patters on stone, and there is no urgency, no need to be anywhere else. The sirens sing as they sail past, but Odysseus has his men plug their ears with wax and tie him to the mast. You hear the siren's song from far away. It is beautiful but also sleepy, a lullaby about rest and peace and never having to struggle again. Odysseus strains against his bonds, but the ship passes and the song fades, and part of you is sad to leave it behind. Between Scylla and Charybdis, they must choose which danger to face, the six-headed monster or the whirlpool. Odysseus chooses Scylla and loses 6 men, but even this loss is muted, quick, barely seen. The ship sails on through the rain. Calypso the nymph lives on the island of Ogygia, and she keeps Odysseus there for 7 years. Her island is paradise fruit, always ripe, weather always gentle, soft rain in the afternoons. She offers him immortality if he'll stay forever, and for 7 years he almost accepts, but finally his longing for home wins out. Calypso lets him go, sad but understanding, and helps him build a raft. He sails away, and you feel the bitter sweetness of leaving peace behind for uncertain struggle. More trials, more delays, but finally Odysseus reaches Ithaca, home at last. He arrives disguised as a beggar, and his own palace is filled with suitors who want to marry his wife Penelope, who has waited 20 years. She has put them off by weaving a shroud by day and unraveling it by night. Endless work, a meditation like the rain that falls and evaporates and falls again. Odysseus reveals himself, and there is conflict with the suitors, but it is resolved, and the important part is the reunion. Odysseus and Penelope together after so long, sitting by a fire while rain falls outside, telling each other their stories, both changed, both older, both finally at rest. Other tales echo through the rain. King Midas wishes that everything he touches turns to gold, and his wish is granted, and at first it seems wonderful, but then he cannot eat, cannot drink, and he realizes the folly. He prays for release, and Dionysus tells him to bathe in the river Pactolus, and he does, washing the gift away, and the river's sands turn gold, and Midas returns to his life, grateful for simple things, bread and water, and the touch of his daughter's hand. Orpheus, the greatest musician, loses his wife Eurydice to a serpent bite on their wedding day. His grief is so profound that his music makes stones weep. He descends to the underworld, playing his lyre, and even the dead pause to listen. Hades and Persephone are moved and agree to let Eurydice return, but on one condition. Orpheus must not look back at her until they reach the surface. They climb through the dim tunnels, and you climb with them, hearing only their footsteps and his breathing. But at the very threshold of the living world, doubt overcomes him. Is she really there? And he looks back. For one moment he sees her, her hand reaching for him, and then she fades like mist, gone forever. Orpheus wanders the world after, his music now so sad that it stills the wind, and eventually he joins her in death, and they walk together in the asphodel fields, and he looks at her as much as he wants, and they have eternity. Narcissus, most beautiful of youths, sees his reflection in a pool and falls in love with it. He cannot look away, cannot leave. Echo, a nymph cursed to only repeat others' words, loves him but cannot tell him. She fades away to just a voice, and Narcissus fades too, staring at himself until he transforms into a flower that grows by the water's edge, white and yellow, nodding in the rain. Pygmalion, a sculptor, carves a statue of a woman so beautiful that he falls in love with it. He prays to Aphrodite, and she, understanding loneliness, brings the statue to life. Galatea opens her eyes, and the ivory of her skin becomes warm flesh, and she and Pygmalion live happily, and their love is proof that love itself can create life. In the underworld, some are punished eternally, but even these punishments have a strange meditative quality. Sisyphus rolls his boulder up a hill, and just before the top it rolls back down. He descends, rolls it up again, and again, forever. But there is something almost peaceful about it, the same task, repeated, no decisions to make, no uncertainty, just the boulder and the hill and his own breath and effort. Tantalus stands in water that recedes when he tries to drink, beneath fruit branches that rise when he reaches for them. He is eternally hungry and thirsty, but his torment is more like the feeling of wanting to remember something that's just out of reach, frustrating but not unbearable, a meditation on desire itself. The fates spin the threads of life, Clotho spins, Lachesis measures, Atropos cuts. You watch them work in a quiet room where rain sounds far away. They do not speak, do not judge, simply spin and measure and cut, and every thread is treated the same, mortal and God alike, all part of the same great tapestry. There is something comforting about their neutrality, their indifference. Your life is a thread in their hands, and it will be whatever length it will be, and fighting this truth is like fighting rain. The Muses inspire artists, 9 sisters, each presiding over a different art. They live on Mount Helicon, near a spring that grants inspiration. You hear them sometimes, singing in harmony, their voices like rain on different surfaces. Calliope's epic poetry, Clio's history, Erato's love poetry, Euterpe's music, Melpomene's tragedy, Polyhymnia's hymns, Terpsichore's dance, Thalia's comedy, Urania's astronomy. Their songs blend into one gentle sound that seems to come from everywhere and nowhere. The Graces, 3 sisters, bring beauty and charm. Euphrosyne is joy, Aglaia is elegance, Thalia is festivity, but their gifts are gentle, not wild joy, but quiet contentment, not show elegance, but simple grace, not loud festivity, but warm gathering. They dance slowly, holding hands, in a circle that never ends. The Furies, also called the Erinyes, punish the guilty, but even they have their place in the peace of things. They are Alecto, Megaera, and Tisiphone, and they pursue oath-breakers and murderers, but their pursuit is inevitable rather than violent, like rain that will find every crevice that cannot be escaped. When their justice is done, they rest. Pan and the satyrs roam forests, playing pan-pipes, but their music is not frenzied, it is the sound of wind in reeds, of brooks over stones. Pan causes panic sometimes, but it is the useful panic that tells deer when to run, that keeps prey alert, that is part of nature's balance. Mostly, he naps in the shade, while rain drips through leaves. The centaurs are half human, half horse, and most are wild and chaotic. But Chiron is different, wise, gentle, skilled in medicine and teaching. He tutors heroes in a cave on Mount Pelion, and his lessons are patient, repetitive. He teaches them to set bones, to recognize healing herbs, to move in balance with the world. Even though he is immortal, he is accidentally poisoned by Heracles and suffers greatly. In his pain, he chooses to give up immortality and die, and this is presented as a gift, the gift of ending, of rest. His students mourn him, but he becomes the constellation Centaurus, forever in the sky, watching over them. The Gorgons Medusa and her sisters Theno and Eurino have snakes for hair and gazes that turn beings to stone, but Medusa at least was not born a monster. She was beautiful once, and some say she was punished for being violated in Athena's temple, turned into something terrible through no fault of her own. Her story is sad, not scary, and when Perseus takes her head, you feel pity more than triumph. The Graeae, sisters to the Gorgons, share one eye and one tooth between them, passing them back and forth. They are ancient, wrinkled as dried apples, and they know secrets of where things are. Perseus tricks them to learn where Medusa lives, and they cackle but are not really angry. They have lived too long to hold grudges. The harpies, wind spirits with women's faces and birds' bodies, snatch food and bring storms, but even they are just doing what nature designed them to do. They are not evil, just hungry, just wild. The Sphinx sits outside Thebes, asking her riddle, what walks on 4 legs in the morning, 2 legs at noon, and 3 legs in the evening? Many try to answer and fail, and the Sphinx devours them, but this happens in shadow, quickly, and is over. Oedipus answers correctly. Man crawling as a baby, walking as an adult, using a cane in old age. The Sphinx, her purpose fulfilled, throws herself from her rock, and her story is done. Oedipus himself has a terrible fate, prophesied to kill his father and marry his mother. He tries to escape this fate, but fate is like rain, it finds a way. He does indeed kill his father at a crossroads, not knowing who he is, and marries Jocasta, his mother, not knowing who she is. When the truth is revealed, Jocasta hangs herself, and Oedipus blinds himself. But even this horror is distant, muted. He wanders, led by his daughter Antigone, and eventually finds peace at Colonus, where he is welcomed by the land itself, and he simply disappears, absorbed into the earth, his suffering ended. Antigone, who led her blind father, later defies her uncle Creon by burying her brother Polynices against orders. She is sealed in a tomb as punishment, and she hangs herself, and her fiancé and his mother also die, and it is all very sad, but also it is the completion of a cycle, the working out of a curse, and when it is done, there is strange peace, like after a long storm. The 7 against Thebes, 7 champions, attacking 7 gates, is a story of pride and conflict, but it happens far away, and you need not understand all the details. Warriors fight, brothers kill each other, a city is besieged, and then it is over, and the dead are buried, and life continues. Cadmus, founder of Thebes, once sowed dragon's teeth that sprouted into warriors who fought each other until only 5 remained. These 5 helped him build the city. Later, in old age, Cadmus and his wife Harmonia are transformed into serpents, and they slither away into the forest, and this is not a curse but a kind of peace, becoming part of nature, shedding the troubles of human form. Atalanta, raised by a bear, becomes the fastest mortal. She agrees to marry only if a suitor can beat her in a race. Those who fail die. Hippomenes challenges her, and Aphrodite gives him 3 golden apples. During the race, he drops them one by one, and Atalanta, compelled by their beauty, stops to pick them up. He wins, they marry, but the race itself is beautiful. 2 figures running through meadows in rain, golden apples gleaming in wet grass. Meleager hunts the Caledonian boar, a massive beast sent by Artemis to ravage the land. Heroes gather, Atalanta among them, and they chase the boar through forests where rain makes tracking easy. Atalanta draws first blood, Meleager kills it, and he gives her the hide. But there is argument and death follows, as it always does in these stories. But the boar itself is magnificent, and when it falls, there is a moment of silence for its wild majesty. The Amazons, warrior women, live far away in Themyscira, and they are fierce but also just living their lives, training, fighting, raising daughters, honoring Artemis. Penthesilea, their queen, comes to Troy to fight on the Trojan side. She meets Achilles in battle, and he kills her. But as her helmet falls away and he sees her beauty, he feels sudden love and grief. It is too late, and her story ends. But she lived fully, fought bravely, and that is enough. Hippolyta, another Amazon queen, is visited by Heracles, who must obtain her girdle as one of his labors. She would give it to him willingly, but misunderstanding and conflict arise, and in the end she dies, but the girdle is obtained, and Heracles moves on to his next labor, and everything continues. Ganymede, most beautiful of mortals, is taken by Zeus, in the form of an eagle, to Olympus, to be cupbearer to the gods. He serves nectar in golden cups, and he ages slowly or not at all, and he lives among the gods, and this is presented as honor, though he might miss his home sometimes. But Olympus is comfortable, and the gods are kind to him, and he has the best wine, the best food, and rain-washed terraces where he can gaze at the mortal world below. Selene, the moon, falls in love with the shepherd Endymion. She asks Zeus to grant him eternal sleep so he will never age, never leave her. Zeus agrees, and Endymion sleeps forever in a cave while Selene visits him each night. And you imagine this must be the most peaceful sleep, dreamless and deep, with the moon's light falling softly on his face. Helios drives the sun's chariot across the sky each day, pulled by 4 horses, Pyrois, Eos, Aethon, and Phlegon. It is hard work, keeping the horses on track, but it is steady work, reliable, and Helios does it without complaint, day after day, and there is peace in such routine. Phaethon, Helios's son, begs to drive the chariot for one day. Helios reluctantly agrees. Phaethon cannot control the horses. They pull him too close to earth, scorching it, then too far, freezing it. Zeus must strike him down with a thunderbolt to save the world. Phaethon falls into the river Eridanus, and his sisters, weeping, are transformed into poplar trees, their tears becoming amber. It is tragic, but the poplars still stand, and amber is beautiful, and Phaethon burned bright for one day before his fall. Eos, the dawn, falls in love with Tithonus and asks Zeus to make him immortal. Zeus grants this, but she forgets to ask for eternal youth. Tithonus ages and ages, withering but never dying, until Eos, in pity, turns him into a cicada, whose voice still greets each dawn. The Pleiades, 7 sisters, are pursued by Orion the hunter and transformed into stars. Now they rise in the spring and set in the fall, and you can see them glittering through clouds, and they are safe there, forever beyond reach, forever together. Orion the hunter is a giant placed among the stars, and he hunts eternal prey across the night sky. Some say he was stung by a scorpion sent by Artemis or Apollo, and now he and the Scorpius constellation chase each other eternally, never meeting, forever separated by the turning heavens. Callisto, one of Artemis's followers, catches Zeus's eye. She bears his son Arcas, and Hera, in jealousy, transforms her into a bear. Years later, Arcas, now grown, nearly kills his mother while hunting, not recognizing her. Zeus intervenes, placing both in the sky as Ursa Major and Ursa Minor, the great and little bear, circling the pole eternally, never setting, always visible. Actaeon, a hunter, stumbles upon Artemis bathing. Foreseeing the goddess nude, she transforms him into a stag, and his own hounds, not recognizing him, tear him apart. It happens quickly, in shadow and confusion, and is sad but also a reminder to respect boundaries, to honor privacy, to be careful where you wander. Adonis is loved by Aphrodite. He is so beautiful that even the goddess of beauty is smitten. But he loves hunting, and one day a boar gores him. Aphrodite tries to save him, but he dies in her arms, his blood staining the earth. Where his blood falls, anemones grow, red and delicate, blooming each spring and dying each summer, like his life brief, beautiful, cyclical. Hero is a priestess of Aphrodite who lives in a tower by the sea. Leander sees her and falls in love. Each night he swims the Hellespont to be with her, guided by a lamp she lights in her window. They have many nights together, the swim becomes routine, and he is strong. But one stormy night, the waves are too rough, the lamp is blown out, and Leander drowns. When Hero finds his body washed ashore at dawn, she throws herself from the tower into the sea. They are reunited in death, two souls wandering the shore together as mist, as rain falling on waves. Baucis and Philemon, an elderly couple, live simply in their cottage. When Zeus and Hermes visit the region disguised as travelers, every door is closed to them except one Baucis and Philemon's. The couple shares their humble meal, their small amount of wine, and as they eat, they notice the wine jug never empties. They realize their guests are gods. Zeus and Hermes reward them by transforming their cottage into a temple and granting their wish that neither outlive the other. When death comes, it comes simultaneously, and they transform into trees growing from a single trunk, an oak and a linden intertwined forever, their branches touching, leaves rustling together in the rain. The apple of discord, thrown by Eris at that wedding, started everything leading to Troy. You've already seen this, but now you understand its full weight. One golden apple, one word inscribed, one choice made in rain-wet grass, and kingdoms fall. But kingdoms always fall eventually, don't they? And from ruins, new growth comes. Niobe, proud of her 14 children, boasts that she is greater than Leto, who has only 2, Apollo and Artemis. The twin gods take offense and slay all of Niobe's children with their arrows. Niobe weeps and weeps until she transforms into a stone on Mount Sipylus, and even as stone she weeps, water running down the rock face like tears, like rain, forever mourning. The Erinyes, those furies, pursue Orestes for killing his mother Clytemnestra, but she had killed his father Agamemnon, and he was avenging that death, caught in a cycle of vengeance. The Erinyes chase him across the world, relentless, until finally Athena establishes a court in Athens to try him. He is acquitted, and the Furies are transformed into the Eumenides, the kindly ones, no longer pursuers but protectors. Their rage is transformed into watchfulness, their fury into justice, and they find peace in this new role. The curse of the house of Atreus Orestes' family goes back generations. Tantalus, his ancestor, offended the gods. His son Pelops won a bride through trickery. Pelops's sons, Atreus and Thyestes, feuded terribly. Atreus served Thyestes his own children in a stew. Thyestes' surviving son fathered Aegisthus, who seduced Clytemnestra. Clytemnestra and Aegisthus killed Agamemnon. Orestes killed Clytemnestra, on and on, blood calling for blood, until finally, with Athena's intervention, the curse is broken, the cycle ends. Rain falls on the house of Atreus, washing away old blood, and the family can rest at last. At Delphi, there is an oracle, the most famous in all of Greece. Before Apollo claimed it, a monstrous serpent called Python guarded the site. Apollo, still young, slew Python with his arrows, but even this slaying is soft in your dream, arrows flying through rain, the serpent coiling and then going still. Apollo establishes his oracle there, and pilgrims come from everywhere seeking prophecy. The Pythia, a priestess, inhales vapors rising from a chasm in the earth, and in her trance she speaks Apollo's truth, though often in riddles. You visit her now, climbing the slopes of Parnassus in gentle rain, and you ask your question, whatever question your sleepy mind forms, and her answer is vague, soothing, open to interpretation, and somehow this is more comforting than clarity would be. Asclepius, son of Apollo, becomes the god of medicine. He is so skilled that he can bring the dead back to life. Zeus, worried this will disrupt the natural order, strikes Asclepius down with a thunderbolt. But his legacy continues. His daughters Hygeia and Panacea represent health and healing, and his staff with a serpent coiled around it becomes the symbol of medicine. Temples to Asclepius are places of rest and healing, where the sick sleep and dream, and in their dreams Asclepius visits them, offering cures, comfort, hope. You rest in such a temple now, lying on a simple cot, rain drumming on the roof, and you feel Asclepius's presence, not seeing him but feeling a gentle hand on your forehead, cool and reassuring, and you know you will wake feeling better. Nemesis is the goddess of retribution, but not vindictive. She simply ensures that balance is maintained, that excessive pride is humbled, that things return to equilibrium. She is like gravity, like rain falling from clouds that rose too high. You need not fear her if you remain humble, if you accept your place in the order of things. Nike is victory, and she is depicted with wings, always in motion, but in your dream she has landed and folded her wings. She is resting on a hillside, watching rain fall over a valley where no battles are being fought. Victory, you realize, can also mean having nothing left to fight for, no more need to win, only peace. Iris, the rainbow goddess and messenger, creates rainbows wherever she goes, but they are soft rainbows, barely visible, more like mother of pearl, shimmers in mist than bright arcs. She delivers messages between gods and mortals, speaking in a quiet voice, never urgent, always gentle. The winds, the anemoi, are four brothers, Boreas the north wind, cold and blustery, Notus the south wind, warm and wet, Eurus the east wind, bringing storms, and Zephyrus the west wind, gentle and favorable. You feel them now, all four, but they are tired, just breezes really, barely stirring the air. They have blown for so long. They are ready to rest, and the world grows still, holding its breath. At the end of his life, after his labors and his trials, Heracles is given a poisoned cloak by his wife Deianira, who was tricked into thinking it was a love charm. The poison burns him terribly. Rather than die slowly, he builds his own funeral pyre on Mount Oeta. He lies on it, and it is lit, and the flames consume his mortal body. But, as they do, Zeus lifts him up to Olympus, and Heracles becomes a god, immortal at last. His apotheosis is not dramatic, but rather like falling asleep by a warm fire and waking in a better place. On Olympus he is reconciled with Hera, who opposed him in life. He marries Hebe, goddess of youth, and his struggles are over. He has earned his rest. You have journeyed so far now, through so many stories, and they all begin to blur together in the gentlest way. Names become sounds, events become feelings, and all of it, all of Greek mythology, becomes one long, peaceful dream. You find yourself on a hillside as evening deepens. The rain has softened to the lightest mist, barely more than the air itself. Below you stretches a valley filled with olive trees, their leaves silver green, turned upward to catch the last moisture. In the distance you can see a temple, white marble columns soft in the mist, and beyond that the sea, calm and grey, merging with the grey sky so you can't tell where one ends and the other begins. You are not alone. The gods are here, but they are quiet, resting. Zeus sits on a smooth stone, his thunderbolts set aside, watching the rain. Hera stands near him, and they are not arguing, just being together. Athena reads a scroll, her lips moving slightly. Apollo's lyre leans against a tree, silent. Artemis has removed her bow, and is simply watching deer move through the mist below. All the gods, all the heroes, all the creatures, they are here in spirit, resting, done with their stories. You have a cup in your hands. When did that appear? Filled with warm nectar, or perhaps just honey-sweetened wine, or maybe chamomile tea. You sip it slowly, and it warms you from the inside. The taste is golden, soothing, and with each sip you feel heavier, more relaxed, more ready to let go. The rain begins again, just a little, soft drops falling on your face, on your hands, on the earth around you. Each drop contains a story, and the stories are falling everywhere, seeping into the ground, feeding the roots of trees, flowing into streams that flow, into rivers that flow into the sea. And the sea will give the water back to the clouds, and the clouds will rain again, and the cycle will continue forever. You realize that you are part of this cycle. You are made of water, mostly, and you are part of the rain. Your breath is mist, your tears are rain, your blood is the ocean. You are not separate from these stories, you are in them, you are one of them. Another thread in the tapestry the fates are weaving. The stars are beginning to appear, one by one, as the clouds thin. You see the constellations Orion with his belt, the Pleiades clustered together, Ursa Major turning around the pole. Each star is a story you've heard tonight, each constellation a reminder, but you don't need to remember them all. They will be there tomorrow night, and the night after, steady and patient. Someone, perhaps Hermes, perhaps Morpheus, god of dreams, whispers that it's time to sleep now. You've heard all the stories, walked all the paths, met all the gods and heroes. The journey is complete. Now comes the reward rest. You lie back on the soft grass, still warm from the day. The ground beneath you is the body of Gaia, and she is holding you, cradling you like a child. The sky above is Uranus, distant but protective, his stars watching over you. And between earth and sky, you rest, safe and held. Your breathing slows, matching the rhythm of the rain. In, out, slow and steady, as the tide, as the turning of seasons, as the eternal cycle of stories told and retold. Your heartbeat slows, finding its own deep rhythm, the drum that has beat since the world began, that will beat long after, the pulse of existence itself. Your eyes close. When did they close? It doesn't matter. Behind your eyelids, you see the stories playing out one more time, but faster now, softer, blurring together. Chaos and Gaia and the Titans and Zeus and all the gods and all the heroes and all the monsters and all the mortals, all of it flowing together like watercolors in rain, like clouds moving across the sky, like thoughts dissolving as sleep approaches. The rain continues, and you are barely aware of it now, just a distant sound, a lullaby older than time. Somewhere, in some story, someone is being born. Somewhere, someone is falling in love. Somewhere, someone is fighting, dying, being transformed. But all of it is far away, none of it is urgent, and none of it requires anything of you. You are so heavy now, so comfortable, so deeply, profoundly relaxed. Every muscle has released its tension, every joint is loose. Your jaw is slack, your tongue is soft, your eyes are still beneath their lids. Even your thoughts have slowed to almost nothing, just the occasional wisp of awareness drifting through the vast, warm darkness that is filling you. The last thing you're aware of is the rain, or perhaps it's your own breathing, or perhaps there's no difference anymore. The sound goes on, steady and eternal, and profoundly peaceful, and you go down into it, down into sleep, down into the deep place where dreams are born, where stories come from, where everything begins and ends, and begins again. And there, in that place, beyond story, beyond myth, beyond even the gods themselves, you finally, completely, perfectly rest. The rain falls, the world turns, the stories sleep, and so do you.